Hello, my name is Kiana Rockets, and today I am going to be talking about the narrative theory. So, have you ever spoken about something to a friend, colleague, teammate, and basically automatically turned it into a story? It was just natural to tell it in a storytelling manner. Well, it happens every day to all of us, thousands of times a day in any and every conversation you can think of. Now, before I learned about this, I always thought, what does this identify as? Why am I doing this? Is it just a natural human behavior, or is there actually a theory behind it? Well, there is. So the narrative theory hits on so many of the big tasks or the big roles of storytelling in and itself. And storytelling is so much more than telling a story in a book or talking about an incident that happened at work. It can be anything from a professional meeting to a just funny story that you had to share with your friends. It automatically turned into a story. It can be extravagated to a way more enjoyable manner to hear. And the narrative theory just is so much more than you would think, and I've loved to learn about it so far. So, like I said, this is called the narrative theory or the narrative paradigm. It's basically the concept of how every single human is a natural storyteller, regardless of what you try to do, think, or say to yourself. So, as I mentioned before, the narrative theory is the theory of natural storytelling. It was written and discovered by Walter Fisher in the years of 1975. Um, it's a pretty bold theory that dates back to a long, long time ago, but it's a theory that's not discussed very heavily. It focuses on the science behind storytelling and how the brain is truly wired, and how it's natural for people to form a story when exchanging interesting information. It's just valuable to know that when you're telling a story to a colleague or a teammate, you can understand why you're turning basic information into something enjoyable that can be used as a story. So, the narrative theory is based on two big principles. First principle is coherence. Coherence in the narrative theory definition is any content while communicating, and how it's effective only if it makes sense to the listener. This is where the storytelling comes in. And coherence is the degree of sense making of the narrative. So your brain automatically wants to make information that is understandable to somebody else and will even be enjoyable to somebody else. That's how you create a story. The second principle is fidelity. Definitions of fidelity through the narrative term. The narrative theory definition is defines the credibility or reliability of the story that's narrated. So helps you form a story that's believable and it's not crazy and it's not something that people aren't going to even are not going to think is real and are know that it's fake. It's greatly shaped by persuasion, which is how you tell the story of the listener and if the listener accepts the story or not. Many people listen to other people tell stories and automatically know that they're lying. Others are a lot more intrigued and love the idea of interesting and crazy stories that people will tell. So, as I said, every human being does it, but in your daily life, how does it really apply? Personally, for me, I love to tell people stories. I love to talk about things and events that have happened in my life and turn them into a story that people will be excited to hear about or will intrigue people. I think that this happens in the school setting, on the team setting, in my sport, in my family. We love to tell stories. And I think honestly, even a professional setting, just having a conversation with a colleague can turn into telling stories about one another. It's a connection for humans, and it's just a natural way that the brain is wired, which I think is super important and super interesting to know and to learn about. So to conclude, I think that one of the biggest things about the narrative theory is how completely underrated it is and how it is it's not well understood by others. I think that it's very important to know what is happening when you are telling a story or to kind of recognize when you automatically become a storyteller. So that is my presentation on the narrative theory. I hope that this brought some light to this theory, and I hope that you all enjoy.